what's up, everybody? Welcome. Orange Bloods Live. I'm Jeff Ketchum. That is Chad Hastings. Do us a big solid. Click some buttons, thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel. If you haven't done that already, we do appreciate the commitment that you make when you hit that subscribe button and know that we're going to infiltrate your algorithms. Thank you. A lot of stuff to get into. I know. We're like praise. Some people have called us predators before, mostly Chad, though, but we don't talk about that.
No, those photos are blurry, and you know it. That could have been John Kitna.
You had hair back then. It was a different day and age.
There's a lot going on.
Jump into the Specs chat and chat it up. We're talking about all things Texas football, Anthony Hill's injury, the very latest there, kind of what your expectations should probably be from now through the A&M game. We're following up on all of the drama from yesterday. Is it as tense? No. Things have simmered down a little bit. We'll walk you through, I think, the things that you need to know so that everybody can chill out. There is a game on Saturday. There's only 2 games left in the regular season in the next 10 days, 9 days. I can't do the math. I guess it would be 10 days. So, enjoy the football season while it's here.
Yeah.
Mr. Hastings, I guess we have to start off with what actually? Like, I'm not sure.
Honestly, I think we start with number 0. I think the update on Anthony Hill. Let's start there and then work towards the madness.
Well,
because that's obviously a big deal. I rewatched the game this week, and I had missed it the first time, which is weird because he sat on the field with a situation you didn't quite know what it was. But if you look carefully, as he's getting helped up, they make sure they're only helping him up by one hand. I believe it's his right hand that is the one that's hurt.
When was that in the game?
It was like,
because he played 62 of 66 snaps, if I'm not mistaken.
I want to say third quarter. I want to say it was into the second half, not deep into the second half, but like a second half deal. He was able to get up, walk off, and then I'll be honest, I'm not sure if he would have, I guess, had to have snaps after that. It wasn't at the very end for me. You could tell it was something. Yeah. But now rewatching it, I could say, okay, there's the hand thing. And then I guess they were able to get him to the end. So I think that update is big against both these teams. I mean, the way the Texas pass defenses look catch, I think there's a concern against both of these upcoming quarterbacks and offenses if Hill's not out there.
Well, look, Hill's not going to play this weekend. And I think that was already the expectation. I mean, we've been hinting at that really since Sunday night when Alex Dunlap first reported the hand injury. And we knew then it was a broken hand. We knew then on Monday that's when they would kind of have some final opinions on kind of what the strategy should be. Kind of what we've been told was that Anthony Hill wants to play. There may be medical advice that's more cautious than that. And I think it'll be a story all next week. And
a short week.
Yeah, if you were holding a gun to my head, I would say I don't know that Anthony Hill plays next Friday. I would point to the Michael Taft injury where – remember when Taft was back at practice, and remember when the buzz was Michael Taft's going to play? Michael Taft's going to play. And then he didn't. Because at the end of the day, you had a guy.
His was a 3-week deal with that, if you include the bye, correct?
And like, look, it's not the same thing, right? Like, it's not apple to apple. But, yeah, I think the Sarkeesian on Monday said he was optimistic that they were both going to play Saturday. And then that was never going to happen. So, whatever you hear, I would just say everybody be real. Like, let's just assume they're going to be ultra cautious. And I think if you hear any bluster of like, he's definitely going to play, that doesn't leave a lot of room for nuance in a situation where he ain't playing on Saturday. So the next game's 6 days later. So they're going to be cutting it close. I don't know how to call it, Chad, because I do think that there's a world where the difference between where Michael Taft would have been a month ago versus where Anthony Hill is right now, it's not the last game of the season. This might be Anthony Hill's last game at DKR as a player, depending on what decision he makes after the season with regards to the NFL draft. But I think the general buzz and consensus is the expectation that Anthony Hill will go to the NFL. So, man, I guarantee you that dude did not wake up on Monday before he went to the doctor's office, and he probably feels like, I could play with this right now. Like, I'm cool. It's just a hand. I got two.
Right.
I'm sure his attitude early this week is, I have not played my last game at DKR. And I'm sure that was probably his attitude right now. We'll see how this thing goes. Because I remember when the Michael Taft thing was happening, I remember on a Monday, it was like, I think he's going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then, then I'm told, hey, man, don't be surprised if questionable goes to doubtful. And I was like, let me keep an eye on that. And then it didn't happen.
Yeah.
And then I talked about it on the show.
Yeah. And of course, now we're in this SEC world where tonight, just after 7 p.m. Central Time, we get our first indication of where this might be headed.
It'd be interesting to see if they list him as out or questionable. Honestly, questionable would give me a little bit of hope about next week a little bit. Well, it would also make me realize they're definitely...
Yeah. If you believe in the math of what you just said, the math of what you just said is, will they say he's 100% not going to play, or will they say he's a coin flip? Like, that's two very different worlds. There's not that many designations, but that's what it's supposed to mean. We know what out means.
They could put him at doubtful.
Questionable is supposed to be a coin flip. Doubtful is supposed to be 25%.
I just never really know how transparent some of these. I think they actually been pretty good this year on the injury report. Like, I really am not nitpicking how they've handled it. It's been pretty in line. Like, there hasn't been many times this season where we've gone, yeah, they really pulled some wool over our eyes with that. I don't know that that's been like their thing. They've been more transparent at times than I thought they would even be, where they've declared guys out earlier than game time.
Yeah, a lot of teams have done that.
So we'll see. Again, even the conversations that I've had have not been emphatic, even about this week. Like, I've not if you listen to the words, and words matter, he's expected to miss this week.
Yeah.
But even then, I think there's a whole, like, this guy's getting ready to play probably his last couple of games in a Longhorn uniform. There's no guarantee that he would play in the bowl game.
Right.
So, I just think there's some real urgency here. And look, maybe the urgency wins out, but like, everybody should probably keep their head on a swivel with regards to what happens with the second best player on this defense.
All right. Before we get off of this and go to soap opera, trust me, we'll get to soap opera update coming up. Catch, without Anthony Hill, what's blinking at you in terms of who's the guy that's got to step up behind him? What's his name?
Well, look, I think you're going to see Leon Lafau and Ty Anthony Smith play a lot together.
Yeah, Smith is the first guy I'm thinking of. He's been making some plays, but I don't know. I'll be honest, I don't know the
Lafau's snaps.
Right.
So even last week, he played a few more snaps.
Okay.
When Lafau, to give you like some context, golly, if I had it pulled up right now, Alex hasn't posted his defensive deep dig that I've seen, and I'll try to find it just because I'm looking at it now.
So Smith, when we've seen Smith, it's been in for Lafau, is what you're saying.
Well, yeah, but we've seen Smith and Lafau play together. Remember earlier? I can't even remember what game it was. It might have been the Vanderbilt game, where there was a couple of games during the not so good portion of that road trip.
Yeah, where you kept asking, why isn't Zero on the field?
Yeah, it was like, why are we rotating? Why are we watching these guys be rotated?
And I guess Sark would tell us, and PK would tell us now this is why?
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. I don't completely know how to define exactly how they plan on using these guys. We've seen both of those guys on the field together. And think of it like this. Last week, there were like 66 snaps on defense. I think Hill played 62 of them. And I want to say that Ty Anthony Smith played around 33 and Lafau played around 30. So, and then we know that Trey Moore is getting snaps, and we also know that they're using Brad Spence as a little bit of a combo linebacker edge guy. So they're splitting all that up amongst that group. Nobody else is playing.
Yeah, somebody brought up Spence in the chat, a good guy to bring up for two reasons. One, he has been making some plays, and two, obviously the Arkansas thing coming back for him might matter.
It's funny, when I asked I asked Alex on Monday, maybe just on Orange Bloods. I said, hey, what do you think this means for the linebacker group? And he said Trey Moore. So it will be interesting. By the way, I pulled up the reps from so there were 66 total plays.
Okay.
By the way, how important is Michael Taft? He played all 66 snaps.
There you go.
And he played really one of his worst games as a Texas player that I can remember in a long time, and yet it still felt light years better than whatever the alternative would have been. Anthony Hill played 62 snaps. And then you go down beyond that. Trey Moore played 38. He actually played the second most snaps of the players that Pro Football Focus is calling a linebacker. And then you had Ty Anthony Smith played 36, and then LaFowl played 29. So I was off by my math a little bit. Spence only played 16. Okay. So with that group, they've got to replace 62 snaps, and I think they'll probably do it by committee.
Gotcha. All right. There's a chat with a good question here before we move to soap opera. We will get to that. Also, we want to remind you guys where you can come watch some soap opera and talk about some soap opera with us. We are just 2 days away from the Deep Eddy Vodka tasting room. If you have ever had a question for Jeff Ketchum, boy, would this be a week to ask it. Live show 12 o'clock on Friday, Q&A until 3 or whenever the questions stop, and get out there and see if there's still bottles of the espresso. That's what I'm going to be doing. Deep Eddy Espresso debuted November 1st. It's only available at the tasting room. So come see us in the Dirty, Dirty Drip on Friday. We cannot wait for that. Also, come see us Saturday for the game. 2:30 in the afternoon for this one. TCH, Social Austin, 183, and Anderson Mill. The specials are in effect once again, including my favorite, the $3 jellyfish special. And we will throw the game up on the middle of this big bad boy right here. Largest screen in the ATX. Every individual screen you see is 55 inches. Not to brag about size. Come see us at TCH Social Austin, and we'll have a post-game show no matter what happens at DKR. Anwar will check in. Texas and Arkansas. Will it be another shootout with somebody in the Hogs, or can Texas really handle business in this one, which is what they really need to do at this point? We will see. Catch, before we get your update on madness, I love this question from Vivek. Most importantly, Catch, for next week, the next weeks, who will be the reliable second corner? Both teams have strong passing offense. That would be a question in my head if I'm a Texas fan.
I mean, I don't think they know. That game started on Saturday with Jalen Gilbo as the starter. 2 weeks ago, Kobe Black was his primary backup.
Yep.
By the end of Saturday, Gilbo was off the field. Kobe Black was a healthy scratch. Unless he's
it went from Gilbo to the freshman, right?
Yes.
Wow.
So Cade Phillips, the freshman.
Phillips. Yes, thank you.
And to give you an idea of like what that meant. So since I still have the Pro Football Focus stats up, where's our guy? I'm looking for him. Sorry, not very good. Gilbo. Gilbo played 30 snaps out of 66 as a starting corner.
Wow. My God, if you tell Mike Bobo that at kickoff, he starts to salivate.
Cade Phillips played 27. And then you had a little bit of Warren Roberson. He played 13 snaps total in the game. But again, no Kobe Black at all. And, if Kobe Black had even been on probable and he doesn't play, you'd go, oh, well, maybe they were just – it looks like he could have played, but maybe they just decided to be cautious with it or whatever. I don't know. I don't know what's up with Kobe Black, other than I am not anticipating Kobe Black to be on the Texas football team next year.
Yeah, that's a big one. That is a big one. It's a great question, Vivek. We'll keep our eyes on that, obviously.
But the answer is they're still trying to figure that out. And I'm curious, does Gilbo, who's a senior, this is a guy – that a year ago they were saying, you know what, we're so confident about Gilbo that we're going to move Jahdae Barron outside.
Yeah.
Now he's at the end of his senior season. And did he lose his job on Saturday? Is Cade Phillips the starting quarterback on Saturday? That's a real thing.
And it was weird. And it's a weird moment, too, because, yes, did he get beat on the first Noah Thomas touchdown? Obviously, he did. But, Catch, we saw a moment later in the game where Taft got completely turned around and allowed the guy to go up the seam.
Taft didn't play well.
Taft didn't get taken out of the game, though.
No. Well, because Michael Taft is Michael Taft, again, by the way, to give you an idea, the Pro Football Focus rankings are the Pro Football Focus rankings.
Mm-hmm.
Of the 5 worst players, out of the 25 guys that played on defense, by the way, Justice Terry only played 7 snaps, but he had a 92.8 grade, which is off the charts good.
That's maximizing your snaps.
It'll be interesting to see if he plays more.
Yeah, really.
The worst rated player on the team last week was Michael Taft. Justice Terry had a 92.8. Michael Taft had a 46.2.
Ooh, good grief.
That included a 32.1 grade in run defense. So Michael Taft's had better days.
I got you. All right,
who else was in that bottom 5? Who was the 3rd worst player?
Who's that?
LaFau.
Really? Okay.
Given given the Anthony Hill situation, they need LaFau and Michael Taft to be excellent this weekend.
Badass.
And I tend to believe Taft will be fine. That, you know what? I give him a little bit of grace. He's earned that. LaFau's really had a disappointing season.
Yeah.
And so much so that, he's no longer, of the linebackers, he got the 4th most snaps on Saturday. He started the game, but he got less snaps than Ty Anthony Smith, obviously less snaps than Anthony Hill, but he also got less snaps than Trey Moore. So there's a lot of moving pieces there. They're doing different groups and personnelings. I just invented a word. But, it kind of depends on down and distance and how they're using these guys. But his usage was going backwards. And I think they're going to ask a lot of him this weekend. And they really do need LaFau to play maybe the best game, maybe of his career, but definitely of this season.
Yeah. All right, Catch. We'll get to the drama here. Thanks for y'all jumping in the Specs chat. Let's hear from Specs because the drama of Thanksgiving is coming up. And we got a good super chat to get us into the update.
When loved ones all gather for gourmet delight, Specs raises spirits all through the night. Thanksgiving is here to bring out the best. Wine pairing is caring and leaves guests impressed. Nothing's off limits, sweatpants or black tie. Just leave enough room for Specs pecan pie. Shop thousands of ways to upgrade your thankful. Specs lower prices keep wallets quite tranquil. So raise a glass and sing your praisings. When you stock up at Specs, it's cheers to savings.
God bless families that drink at Thanksgiving. All right, Catch, let's get it to Danny's $4.99.
We know what we call those people, right?
Normal?
Families.
Yep, except for mine. I grew up in a weird one that didn't drink, but man, when I got to be hanging around these drinking families, I'm like, well, this is Thanksgiving. I like
that's
this.
the only time I see drink because Heather and I don't drink. So this one gets interesting.
Whew, once I got in-laws, man, I was okay. Here we go. Go to my buddy's house. Oh, okay. All right. $4.99. Is this bullshit drama common among college football programs? Always feel like there's something going on at the 40.
Yes and no, Danny. No, in the most dramatic sense of stuff that's been going on since really Monday. Kind of weird that Sunday was so quiet, given that it was right after a game. But I do think one of the, inside of all of this are the conversations that we're having kind of on a daily basis. How do you optimize Texas football? How much should the head coach be doing? Can a head coach be comfortable enough with a general manager that you don't need to use air quotes with, right? Like there's all these moving parts that are new things. Like how Steve Sarkeesian know how he'll feel about something. He's never had to deal with some of this stuff before. How do you allocate dollars? Just a week ago, we were talking about offensive line, right? And like you can go get a 5-star tackle, but he's got to be able to play by the end of year 2 at the latest. Well, is that changing? Could you afford if Michael Fasusi didn't start this season, but he cost $1.5 million, and it just turned out he's not better than Brandon Baker and or Trevor Gooseby. Did Texas screw up? Like these are conversations and things that have never been asked before, and where I would say I think this drama is common right now in this very moment. Every football program in America is evaluating what did we do.
Yeah,
there are some programs, Chad, that didn't have any money until this year, really, right? And then it was like school's going to get involved, Suddenly there's at least 20 million or more to play with for schools that might have been spending $5 million.
Yeah.
So we saw a wild amount of spending. And I think as this season is ending, everybody's going, there's a lot to take in.
Right. And it's also, Danny, the Texas factor is always a little different to me. Because like somebody in the chat just said, oh, we're a mediocre football program right now, but your brand is never going to be mediocre ever.
Even that's not
that's not fair either. But there are certain names, and Bama's one of them, and Georgia's one of them, and Ohio State's one, Oregon, all that stuff. But we can always make the argument that Texas is unique in a way that even those names aren't unique.
And Chad, the elephant in the room where I think you can't separate this. Texas probably has the most expensive roster in the sport.
Right, that too.
So, there aren't a lot of things that people behind the scenes would take offense to, but don't you dare say they haven't tried. Don't you dare say they haven't made a commitment. Don't you dare say that you keep all of the players via retention that they did a year ago and not be financial. Because I think there are people who are like, Texas Tech is doing more than Texas. And it's like, I put my hand on a Bible. Texas Tech's not spending more money this year than Texas or Georgia or Ohio State. Now they might down the road, maybe their roster gets so good that they're there. But
so in terms of what
this reality,
right,
and not making the playoffs, like there is a little bit of like what happened and how do we not do it all over again? And it does involve a head coach that, quite frankly, just doesn't like to be challenged a whole lot.
Yeah. So whatever the pressure was, or whatever it felt like to you Monday, now we're sitting here on Wednesday. So 48 hours later plus, where's the temperature for you? Where's your focus on it? And are you still getting like crazy DMs where you're like, wait, what?
I haven't checked my DMs this morning even. Okay. I talked to some people last night and yesterday. I think I have a more global. I'll tell you this. I think I now know, and I didn't last night. I do think I know who ordered the code red on the Desmond Howard stuff. I'm not going to say it.
Right.
But I will say I don't think it was Sark. That doesn't make everybody feel a little bit better.
Maybe Lieutenant Kendrick, you think? I thought he was shady. Yeah.
I'm not going to play the guessing game on this, but like, I think I have an idea. I think everybody can honestly be rest assured that the worst of the ideas that you might have had in your head's probably not it. I talked to people who I think are maybe higher level sources than all of the people that I've talked to over the course of the last. The one thing that was really consistent was what I reported yesterday is that I had talked to nobody who has ever one time had a conversation with somebody else where it doesn't include Steve Sarkeesian as the head coach. So there were people like, we got to Sark's, you know what I mean? It was that crazy on Monday and yesterday where on social media, there's just a lot of like, Sark's out of here. And the people that I was talking to was like, we're not having those conversations. That's just, if it happens, it's not because we're sitting around plotting an exit for our head football coach, who, by the way, they've invested a lot of sweat equity, money, you name it. This is their guy. Yeah. Talked to somebody yesterday. He reiterated those points. And he was really more unequivocal about like Steve Sarkeesian will be the head coach at Texas next year. He will be. Not handicapping it. Didn't 85-15, 80-20, 90-10.
Right.
And when and I'll be honest, when he and I were kind of at the end of our conversation, I was like, dude, what is the main, in your perspective, the big takeaway that didn't exist in the first thing that I wrote yesterday that needs to be front and center is what? Steve Sarkeesian will be back next year as the head coach at Texas. Okay. And that is definitive. It does go hand in hand with what I think the highest levels of communication that I've had with people.
Right. And that would certainly calm some pressure down. Obviously, the way to really get rid of that pressure would be if Sarkeesian himself had put out a statement. Of course, we all know people would react by saying, oh, there's the vote of confidence or whatever. But to this moment, Sark has not clarified anything, correct?
No, and it'll be interesting if this even makes – it should. It's a big deal. One of the other than Kirk Herbstreit, because, our guy Corso's gone, Desmond Howard's the second most highest tenured big dog college football TV analyst in the industry, right?
Right. And let's also be clear, Catch, that's a show that has had Sark on, obviously, when you're there at a game. He sits next to them in those chairs, but he's also done like walking the field interviews. I can't remember if he did it for Georgia, but I know he did it for maybe Vandy. He will put on the mic and walk the field and talk to those guys. And at the end of it, he says, I appreciate what you guys do for college football, and always feels like such a connection. Deep down, I've been wondering, like, what was going through Sark's, assuming he did not know it was going to happen. What was going through his brain where he's like, wait a minute, Desmond? Des did that.
And here's the crazy thing, and I think this thing makes it complicated. I think there's a pretty good chance that Sarkeesian has both Deanna Rossini and Desmond Howard's phone numbers. Like, Sarkeesian knows everybody. And I think you can almost bet your life that Sark has Herbstreit's, Fowler's, Desmond Howard's, probably even what's his face now? McAfee. He's probably got their numbers in his phone. Like, why wouldn't he? Why wouldn't he?
Of course.
And like Sark's incredibly so it makes the like, how would Sark have reacted if he's got Desmond Howard's phone number and he didn't order the code red, and I don't think he did, then and I had some questions about that, honestly, like 24 hours ago. If anybody wants to know like what's new, I didn't know. Like, I was making no assumptions about how it happened. I was pretty honest about it. Nobody can fully explain how this happened. I got an explanation last night that I think makes some sense. And honestly, it's probably best case scenario, if I'm being completely honest, for Texas. And, but it doesn't change the fact that there's some weirdness involved in all of this. We outlined it yesterday, and, could Sark have even called Desmond Howard yesterday or today? Like, yeah, like I think.
Right. Dude, what the F?
Or like not, right? Like, I don't know the dynamics in all of this.
Or dude, what the F?
I mean, like, there have been times when you and I stopped working together where like we didn't talk every day. We didn't talk every week. Sometimes a month or two would go by and it was like, oh my God, I haven't talked to Chad in a while. But it's like, like when you call, not every call starts the same. Hey, let's pick back up with where we were at in Breaking Bad. Like, no, like sometimes a litany of things can have occurred. And like in this instance, we know that this has happened. And so I don't know, like, do they ever talk? Does he talk to those guys on game day like once a week? Like, those guys are constantly checking in with coaches so they know what to say on game day. Is he going to talk to Sark this week? Or will somebody on game day talk to Sark this week?
Because then, I mean, again, like I said yesterday, I said it more definitively. I'll ask the question. if you're game day and you're planning out your show this week, I don't even know where they are. Where are they going? Are they going to go to Oregon maybe?
I don't even know where they are. Like, we kind of just checked out.
There's 3 ranked games. There's Oregon, there's Georgia Tech, and there's another, and Cincinnati. Those are the 3 ranked sites. But anyway, they'll be somewhere. After what Desmond did, are they going to say, hey, Des, we need to have a discussion, and while we're talking SEC, we're going to throw to you and be like, Des, what's your latest? What are you hearing? Like, that's what I would do. If I was producing game day, that's what I would do. Dude, you can't drag your trash can down the driveway and do that on a Monday and not answer for it on Saturday morning. And we need to promote it.
I don't know.
And we need to promote it.
Idea.
Yeah, I'd promote it. Think about how many people would tune in for that. Like now.
But it's not the thing about Desmond Howard. I've had people ask, why Desmond? Like, if you really wanted to make news with Desmond, and I think this is at the crux of the question that you're asking. Mm-hmm. Why Desmond? Because Desmond Howard, to me, is big enough that if he says it, it gets heard.
Just like Curb Street back in the day with the Saban thing.
The difference is, if Desmond says it, it's not on the B block of First Take. And I can't fully explain why that is any more than I can explain why one NBA studio analyst can say one thing and Charles Barkley can say other things.
Yeah, good point.
It's never the same.
Yeah, you're right. He's a little bit down that pecking order, and you're right. Him saying something it's different than Herb Street.
I mean, I really can't even. Whereas with Herbie, we can remember him being a little bit of a news breaker or a news tag along. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. But to me, both of those guys in a way hold the same spot. Former players, Des obviously way more famous as a player, but both guys are former players. And every time I hear them break news catch, I don't think of it as like.
I can't remember the last time Desmond Howard broke news, though. What has he ever broken news?
Right. Like, they don't do it. So when Kirk did what he did, or when Kirk said, throws out weird little lines or comments about schools or whatever, you're like, wait, is somebody talking to Kirk Herbstreit? And Des is just a little further down that, down that pecking order to me.
These two stories have some similar qualities. Can I tell you what they are?
Sure.
Well, first of all, I would argue that Deanna Rossini in her world is a little bit like the Desmond Howard of, like, she's a made woman. She works at a major, like, she works for The Athletic. She's a legit NFL reporter. She breaks stories. But she ain't Schefter, right? So you're getting something that is coming from somebody that's got some juice. What is also really interesting about what these two things have in common, there's 3. I just gave you one. This is where we're going to elevate them as we go throughout the day or throughout this story. The second one is they're kind of throwaway reports. Rossini, at the bottom of like an 8,000 word article about the offseason coaching change, and the final 50 words of an 8,000 word opus.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Is like, hey, you know what else I'm hearing? Steve Sarkeesian kind of kicking around the NFL tires. It was a very let me just kind of throw this in there. It's not my lead. I'm not even making a headline out of it that's going to end up on The Athletic.
Yeah. And right after that, I went back and looked at a whole bunch of her posts on social media, and it's just not something she normally does. Even if there's an NFL job connected to it, that is not what she's normally doing. She's usually talking strictly about things going on only in the NFL.
And so here we are. Desmond kind of does the equivalent of an 8,000 word opus where in the last 50 words, he's like, hey, Steve Sarkeesian, keep an eye on that, right? Like, what is he doing? It is an Instagram live video. It is him walking out to his trash.
He's taking the trash to the curb. That's it.
He's looking at some tennis balls, commenting on they're in my yard. And then he's like, oh, and hey, you guys might be hearing this here first. Don't be surprised if this happens, but parting of mutual ways, Texas and Sarkeesian, keep an eye on that. It's not done. It's not done in a way that it was a headline on any ESPN property.
Correct. Yeah.
He could have made it that.
He could have gone on.
I got the goods.
He could have gone on a morning show and said it.
He's on First Take.
He could have, right. He and Stephen A. could have been side by side.
Instead, he's wearing his bucket hat. He's taking out the trash.
Yep.
And on a Monday morning, when there's a million other things going on, he just puts it into the universe. Very similar to Deanna Rossini putting it into the universe in a story that had nothing to do with Steve Sarkeesian. Here's number 3. And this one to me is the most fascinating of them all. One of the interesting things that happened with Rossini was that article came out on Friday. It came out earlier. And it probably just because of the time of it all. Like, trust me, Chad's heard me say this before in an Orange Bloods meeting. Don't put your shit out at 5 o'clock on a Friday. Like, you're wasting your time. So
there's a reason I put my nerdy ass post about how Texas can get into the playoff out this morning at like 8:40 in the morning.
The clock is running.
Because he told me to.
And so it doesn't get any traction on Orange Bloods, on social media, or anything. So what happens? There's a circle back around where she goes onto social media and goes out of her way to plug the Sarkeesian point. That's really how it becomes a thing. She makes almost a separate out of it. Yeah. And suddenly is playing up the idea that like that's a big deal in her article, right? But the Athletic's not doing that. It's not teasing that story as
It's just her kind of throwing it out there. Yeah.
But it happens hours. I thought in real time she got a phone call from the source who wanted this out there and said, didn't do enough. I'm going to need you to go a little harder.
Might have even been the person that gave her the note, right? And said, hey, we need this out there, so get it out there.
It's out there, but it's not out there.
Right. It hit, but it didn't hit. Let's get it to hit.
And think about how that story ends. Nobody shanks each other at the end. They all just kind of claim victory and walk off, right?
Yeah, good point.
So this Desmond Howard thing's fascinating because there's this idea that Desmond Howard, I've heard Desmond Howard basically called the Forrest Gump of the media.
Damn.
He's an idiot. Someone called him an actual trash can. Like he has a profile amongst some fans that's just negative. But at the key of it is like, he's just dumb. Well, how did that happen? Like, what are the motives? He probably read that Rossini report and was taking the trash out and was like, let me make some clicks. My interpretation of Desmond Howard is you don't stay at the top of this profession for going on 3 decades on the number 1 property in all of college football.
Yeah.
Without being incredibly street smart and probably without being pretty just brilliant. Like, I don't like Herb Street, but I don't walk around going, how's that guy even on TV?
Right.
How's he managed it? He's a big old dummy.
He and Desmond Howard paid attention to Lee Corso over the years. They took lessons from him, and they are still rolling on that thing.
So I look at Desmond like that dude has got some wits about him, right? But there's a theory out there that maybe he just did it because he's dumb, which I find all kinds of insulting, but nevertheless, I think maybe it's because he's a media guy, and you guys don't trust media people, if we're being completely honest. And we know that Dez is a little anti-Texas, and so everybody's got it in their mind that he can go from 0 to 60 on he enjoys Texas losing to he's trying to destroy the Texas season. Okay.
What a villain.
So, because Desmond Howard needs this after 30 years of being on game day.
Sure. It's what'll make his resume complete.
So this made it on the Orange Bloods. 8:42, the post was made on Orange Bloods that Desmond Howard had done something.
AM.
Yeah. At 8:53 a.m. Central Time, the video of Dez's comments pop up on Orange Bloods for the first time. Now, Think about the way Sarkeesian and CAA reacted to the first story.
Yeah, pretty quick.
Think about how angry they were.
And specific, right? A specific thing and a kind of a post that you just don't normally see.
Incredibly defiant, incredibly specific, and like a real amount of urgency. Because to them, we just got caught off guard, and that's some bullshit. Well, if the working theory is that Dez is just making something up, and it's a few weeks after they tried to like kill this NFL story before it ever becomes a thing, right? Like press release and Sark comes out hard on it and like no impact on recruiting. Like they nipped that in the bud. If you watched how they handled the first situation, and then at 8:30 in the morning Central Time.
Yeah, real quick, Kex, let me just interrupt you. Somebody put in the chat, Sark just sounded off per Anwar. Apparently there's been some sort of tweet from Anwar. We may want to double check that while things are going on. But Anwar tweet, capital letters. Maybe there has been some kind of Sark response. Tex Blonde says Sark just said he's not going anywhere.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, hey.
All right.
We've been saying.
Yeah. I'll double. Let me double check here. I'll check. I'll check Twitter and see if what Anwar threw out.
Oh, he did. Okay, so here it is.
Okay.
Steve Sarkeesian just went off on the SEC media conference call. He's pissed off at reports that continue to say he's leaving Texas. Quote, I'm not going anywhere, end quote.
There you go.
But look, this is literally what we were just talking about. That on the Monday, and I'll keep an eye for more updated quotes, that just happened in the last 5 minutes.
Right, that's what he needed to say.
So that's what we kind of expected on Monday, right?
Right.
And if you're completely caught off guard and Desmond Howard is the guy that does it, what you would expect is that Desmond's phone starts ringing like off the hook, right? He's a CAA client just like Steve Sarkeesian. He's a big deal. Steve Sarkeesian is pissed, right? He just told us.
Yeah, it is interesting. He was never asked about it, for the record, never asked about it in the Monday presser specifically, and then he didn't bring it up on his own.
Which probably gives you a little bit more. Again, the difference between Desmond and Kirk Herbstreit is if Kirk Herbstreit had done that at 8:30 in the morning on Monday morning, it's a thing at noon for sure.
Right.
Or 11.
You'd have had to deal with. Yeah, because it wasn't a thing. Maybe he thought that's where he could get it, push it down the road a little bit, and he just felt like today he had to move.
Now I think Desmond might have to talk about this on game day. But hold on, because all of this is happening now, and I'm trying to make the point, right?
Okay.
Sark is pissed. Pissed. He just went off on the SEC media call, right?
Yes.
So I would have thought on Monday that as soon as this happened, Desmond Howard's getting what the fuck calls. He's getting like his boss is calling. You know what I mean? Like,
right. Take it down, delete it, move. We got to, make a follow-up video, something.
You caused a stir. Like are you officially reporting this? What are you doing? That was you know what I mean? Like,
yep. Let's unstir this real quickly.
Except without me having any idea what the response behind the scenes would have been. And Anwar is going to join us right now because we're talking breaking news. Yeah. But to put a ribbon and bow on this, almost 6 hours later, Desmond Howard went to Twitter and reposted it again. And if Desmond Howard had gotten immediate pushback, if any of this stuff, like, wouldn't he have just, I was expecting maybe he deletes it. Maybe he apologizes. Maybe there's a statement of, oh, I was just kidding. I don't know. Instead, he just retweeted it or like posted it on Twitter. And again, the whole thing's fascinating. And Anwar Richardson, who was just on the SEC conference call with Steve Sarkeesian. Anwar, we read your tweet where he said, I'm not going anywhere. I'll just be quiet. Clearly, you were just listening, so I'll let you tell me.
It'll be easy. Here we go. I'll just play it for you.
Okay.
I mean, right? That's the easiest thing to do.
Does technology work?
Can you hear it?
Take a moment to comment on your team as you prepare to host Arkansas on Saturday.
It took a second. He didn't start right away.
One moment while we get Coach Sarkeesian on the line.
It's worth the wait.
Yes, hello. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Go ahead, Coach.
Yes, I'd like to comment on something before I get into our team, something that has been bothering me now over the past few weeks, and that is people reporting that or insinuating that there's a possibility I could leave the University of Texas, and that is absolutely false and untrue. I'm not going anywhere. Never do I do this because I never want to be a distraction, so I never address these things. But at this point now, I feel like that is important that I do this because it's important for our team. It's important for our university. I've had no discussions, not with my agent, not with the university, not with any other school, not with any NFL team, about ever going anywhere else. I came here to win championships. I've got 2 kids enrolled at the University of Texas, one in law school, one on our team. I've got a third that hopefully decides to enroll at the University of Texas next fall. And my wife and I just had our son here in Austin. This is our home. We came here to win championships. We've built a damn good football program over the 5 years that we've been here. We've been to 2 college football playoffs. We won a Big 12 championship. We went to the SEC championship game in year 1. We've had 23 players drafted the last 2 years, which is more than any other school in the country. And our team GPA is at an all-time high. So can we please stop putting things out there that you have absolutely zero evidence on? And then can we please stop retweeting, putting it back out there as if it's true, as if it's the gospel? It is not true. If you have a question about my future, call me or call Chris Delcani, our athletic director, and we can set the record straight for you. So if everybody understand. So moving forward, when some Joe Blow decides to put something on social media out there, we all don't run with it like it's the gospel. Can we all agree on that on this call? And if you have a question about my future with the University of Texas, ask me on one of these calls. Ask Chris Delcani. He'll be more than happy to take your call so that we can set the record straight, so that we can focus on our football team, which is really what we should be doing. Everybody good with that? Next, our football team has got—
That was emphatic.
Hey, I was going to say, Cash, you know what word's in my mind right now? That was emphatic. Wow.
There you go. So anyway, I just want to make sure you guys had that in the work with.
No, that worked better than I would have imagined. Like, that was crystal clear. Thank you, Anwar.
No problem. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
You too.
Anwar Richardson from Orange Blue. Look at that. That's up to the minute reporting. Very emphatic, Catch. Very emphatic. I enjoyed Joe Blow. Joe Blow was good. I didn't know Desmond Howard was a Joe Blow. A damn good team jumped out. And this is our home, and mentioned the baby and all that stuff. I mean, that is capital E emphatic.
Yeah. I mean, look, and I'll be honest, like, that was needed.
I agree. Yeah.
That was needed. And you know what? He didn't quite do that after the first story popped up.
No, he did a little bit. He did a little bits of it. He did a little bit of that retweet thing or whatever, but he didn't hit it that hard.
And you could make a case if he'd gone that hard. I'm not like really nitpicking Sark. I'm just like, my immediate reaction is, number one, first and foremost, like, that was really needed.
Yep.
It was needed. That shuts down, like, and I think it will be. He didn't say Desmond Howard's name on purpose for a reason. And I don't know what that reason is. And maybe it's, if you say Joe Blow doesn't have to respond because there is no Joe Blow.
Right. He should have said Joe Blow up north.
But if he said Desmond Howard's name, that's in these streets. Yeah. How back and forth begin. You know what I mean?
He could have said Heisman Joe Blow, but he didn't.
I wonder how, look, what you and I think they should have to do.
I think this one might feature. You know what? I'm guessing they might say no to that next walk on the field interview with Game Day. We'll see.
I'll bet you $1 bazillion he'll take that interview.
Maybe
I'm telling you, like, he and Desmond Howard are friends. I'm guessing on some level they're friendly.
So after that catch, let's continue that conversation. You're the producers on Game Day. If he would say yes, do you now want to put Desmond Howard and Steve Sarkeesian together on television?
For sure.
And make Desmond Howard, I don't know, juggle, avoid, like, what do you do?
I told you before this, I don't think they'll talk about it. I don't know. It's the story of the Texas Longhorns. You can't talk about Texas and Arkansas to me.
Right. Yeah, because then once he said, when you read what he said, you're like, well, now they have to deal with it. Now you've heard how emphatic he was. So would you still be, if you were in that meeting and they said, catch, do we have to deal with this on Game Day this week? What do you say?
No.
You say stay away.
Because they're not about that, really. They're about Pat McAfee taking his shirt off and
kicking contests
and stuff like that.
I mean, they're about Pete Thamel updating stuff on Game Day, but usually it's not Dez and Herb Street. And
if I had to make a prediction, Thamel will give an update on Sark, and Desmond Howard will not be involved.
But will they ask Desmond to comment? No. Wow. See, I don't know if I'd go that route. I think at this point, Desmond Howard might.
They all count on, and I think Sark does as well, which is why he doesn't say Desmond Howard by name or Deanna Rossini by name. Like, these are not Joe Blow people. These are elite people at their craft. Deanna Rossini is known as one of the top reporters in the NFL, news breaking. And the other thing that I would just say is a little bit of a nitpick. I don't want to make it sound like I'm criticizing Sark because I don't really care. Like, he did the thing that he needed to do. I've got opinions on stuff, and sometimes I don't think people really care. But, people didn't run with the information as if it was fact. That is just not what happened.
No.
What people ran with were that legitimate, known reporting entities of some degree were saying very specific things about Steve Sarkeesian. They're reporters. People weren't saying, nobody said all week long, Steve Sarkeesian is leaving Texas. What people said was Desmond Howard said Steve Sarkeesian was leaving Texas.
Yeah, and then the discussion can go from there, and it usually does in comments with fans and all that stuff, but he knows that part.
Sark is confusing the sharing of a notable person reporting anything with accepting that a retweet is fact. And what have we seen over the years with retweets? People go out of their way to say a retweet is not an endorsement of whatever is being said.
Right. Exactly.
Because there were for a long time, and maybe Sark's 52. He might have, I think he's got some old man in him. Yeah, where he's like, he retweeted it. That means they are supporting it. And it's like
the tweets are mine. The retweets don't necessarily,
Sark, what I would say is somebody who's probably a little bit more active than you on social media and has definitely been in trouble more than you on social media this week. Retweets are not endorsements. I'm just letting you know. I have stuff that I'll go into my mentions and I'm like, oh, that got retweeted from 4 years ago. It is not my greatest hits of like things I got right. They're not endorsing. They're just like, look at this. Sometimes a retweet is a look at this idiot. Sometimes a retweet is I'm about to yell at this idiot. I would say the actual percentage of if you share something on social media, like the sharing of it as an endorsement of like, this is true, it's a minority percentage.
Yeah.
It just is. It just is. Because I'm just letting you know from my own experience, Sark. Retweets are not endorsements because I think most of my retweets do not come from people who would say they're endorsing me in anything.
Dirkley, I see that super chat. We will get to it. And we had great, crazy, cool breaking news right in the middle of the show. Sark,
what is your thought on that? What's your 30-second elevator reaction to that before we pay a bill?
Before we pay a bill?
No, hold it and tell me after we pay a bill.
Or after we pay
a bill. Tease, you're right. It's a terrible segue into putting the ball on a tee for you.
I'll tell you exactly what I think, Catch, after I remind you it's holiday time at AV Consultations.
Hi, this is Tom McKay, owner of Audiovisual Consultations, and all of us at Audiovisual would like to wish you and your family a happy holiday season. This time of year can get a little hectic, so we want to remind you to relax, enjoy the season with your family and friends, and give us a call at 512-255-8678 for all of your home entertainment needs. This is my favorite time of the year. I love the holidays, the music, the decorations, the presents, the whole darn thing. So this year I'm asking all you listeners to help make this a special holiday for everyone. Smiles are contagious and free, so let's give them away like the government gives away your money. Let's high-five strangers on the street, hold the door for people behind us, tip your servers more than they've ever been tipped before, give to a charity, or hell, give to a bunch of charities. If someone does a good job, tell them they did a good job. Pat someone on the butt, sing in public places just because it feels good. And as always, hug your kids until they beg you to stop, watch some games with your friends, and make love to your wife or your husband. I know there's some women listening too. You can still give us a call at 512-255-8678 if you'd like to get some cool electronics, but more importantly, have a great holiday season and a friggin' awesome next year.
There you go. AV Consultations, great way to get your the setup you've always wanted. Dirkley, let me get this super chat in, then I'll tell you what I think of the Sark deal. $4.99 to Sark. Need to be more unpredictable like Kirby Smart going forward on fourth down and using an onside kick. Dirkley, I think Sark needs to be better at adjusting inside of a football game. That's what Kirby seems to be pretty good at. What do you think, Catch?
I think Kirby probably allows himself more freedom to be unpredictable. You're not saying Kirby Smart needs to be more predictable as a game caller. You're saying that he needs to be more predictable as a game manager. And I think it's very hard for Steve Sarkeesian to be Kirby Smart as a game manager when he'd be the first to tell you he doesn't get to always watch the defense. There's a million things going on in a game. It's what Tom Herman used to talk about. He didn't want to be his own play caller because he felt like if I'm calling plays, it makes me worse. And I've brought this up a couple of times this week. When it happened, we clowned on Tom Herman for making that comment because it looked like he was small by comparison of Lincoln Riley. Lincoln Riley was doing it at Oklahoma. Tom Herman had just been hired. And in reality, Tom Herman was a level of self-aware that is wildly ironic for the guy that we actually know who Tom Herman, would never say that Tom Herman at Texas was the most self-aware guy of all time.
Yeah, and then ironically, I think it's still true. Lincoln, I think, is still calling plays at USC. So he's a guy to kind of, if you want to put somebody up beside Sark on that, because remember, Dirkley, that's a key difference, not just offense, defense. Kirby has somebody calling the defense. And
now he's involved.
He's involved. In fact, I rewatched the game, Cat. There's easy moments where you can watch where Kirby's involved. They caught him walking down the sideline about 6.5 yards, and he leans over to the defensive coordinator, and it was like, this is where, remember, and then he goes back to wherever he was standing. And I'm like, well, there you go. There's a defensive-minded coach. I'm sure that's the kind of stuff Saban was doing at Bama. That's different than Sark calling every single play on the offensive side.
Well, and most head coaches that don't call plays will say they're listening into everything, and they will always feel the agency of, whoa, double reverse halfback pass. Guys, 4th and 1. No. And that is what Sark, I don't know how much of that he's able to do is watch a game from 30,000 feet up, from 3 feet up.
Yeah. And remember, Catch, who we used to make fun of for listening to plays? 2 guys come to mind. Bobby Bowden got made fun of for that. So did Mac Brown.
Oh, yeah.
People rip on Mac. Mac's supposed to be an offensive coordinator. Why doesn't he call plays? He just listens to plays. But nowadays, the modern answer is because it gives you a chance to look at everything. And Dirkley, to your point, it gives you the chance to feel a moment and go, hey, guys, you like the onside here? Do you like it here? You're not having to worry about calling plays on that 21-10 drive. As it's happening, you're thinking to yourself, this might be the onside kick. And you go to your special teams guy while your offense is rolling and you say, hey, is this it? Is this the one you think? All right, let's do it. Let's do it.
Well, because if you're a defensive coordinator, you don't get to sit in the booth and go, hey, guys, might be a good time for a pee break. Like, we're not playing defense next series. I've decided I'm gonna tell Kirby onside kick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah. And the other thing that's been in my head on this catch is there is also a difference between creating and destroying. Anybody who's ever built a swing set or ripped one down can tell you that. It's a different thing, both sides of the ball. So you can tell me that calling offense and calling defense is the same thing. I would disagree with you. It's just not the same. You are creating the full picture on one side, and all you're trying to do on the other side is stop something.
You know what the play calling thing is for me, man? And I know guys that are like this. Hell, I'm probably like this, right? You got, you got guys who are really happily married. They got it really good. But there's like an element of your wife or your spouse that you just like, that thing just drives you crazy. It kind of, but everything else, like this, the Sark thing is, who are you going to get that's better than him on paper as a play caller?
Right.
Convince him. Because I think Tom Herman was right. I have such a newfound respect, actually, for Tom Herman, who was at that time much younger than Sarkeesian is right now as a head coach.
Yep. And there's a lot of guys that would have disagreed with him. Lane Kiffin would agree with him now.
That was his first season as a major college coach.
Saban would have nodded.
And he was like, my big call is I'm not going to do the thing that I deep down know they said I was being hired for, because I think ultimately I'm robbing Peter to pay Paul, and it's going to make me a worse game day coach. And, like all these years later, I think in order for Sarkeesian to be the best head coach that he can be, he can't be calling plays. By just forget about the GM stuff and everything else. I'm just talking about if we're going to be talking about Steve Sarkeesian as a game manager, and like he's got to be more creative and he's got to be on top of everything and he's never going to make a mistake. Like, you got to let him be. That has to be his job. And
if the last two, forget about offense, defense. If the last two monster coaches in this sport that you're trying to keep up with don't do it, why would you? That would be my question to him.
Because
anybody else.
Because and maybe these guys had egos. You know what I never heard? I really never heard anybody say that Ryan Day was the most innovative, the greatest play caller in college football. I never heard Ohio State fans talk about him that way. Now, look, I'm sure he thinks of himself as a total badass.
Sure.
Sarkeesian in games gets called. Coaches in the industry say that there's nobody quite like him in the business, and his scheming and his this and that. And like,
but so does Lane Kiffin, and he gave up the play calling.
Sark's just not comfortable with it. And look, I'm not telling you you're wrong, Chad. I'm telling you, I don't think Steve Sarkeesian has heard a case yet for, so who am I handing this over to?
Yeah, no, that's all of that is fair. Real quick, Catch, on the other side of it, do you know who took over play calling duties going into this college football season?
For who?
No, do you know who did? If I tell you the team, you'll know.
Oh.
Do you know what head coach took over play calling duties this year in college football?
I know Dan Campbell did it in the NFL.
Yeah, and the team has had a pretty damn good year so far.
Just tell me.
Mike Elko.
Oh.
Elko was not happy with what their defense was doing
for good reason. We were clowning on that defense in September.
Their defense was giving up chunks. And no, I think it was before the season. So he would be responsible for the September part. Yeah, I think it was from the beginning of the year, but he just wasn't comfortable with what he saw from Bateman. He kept the guy, but he has taken over defensive play calling duty. So he might have a different way to look at it. But one way or the other, I would just say if it's not going well, you need to think about the other version.
Well, look, no matter how good Detroit is this season down the stretch on offense, they're not going next season with Dan Campbell as the play caller. So
no, I wouldn't think
it feels like a short-term and Elko at some point is going to be like, I do need to have a guy. I mean, that's incredibly damning for Bateman.
Exactly. It is. You're right.
You can't walk back from that. It's the same reason where, you know how sometimes it's like if a guy gets arrested for something, it's like, man, if you bring that guy back, the risk you run is that if he ever messes up again, you have an example of like you allowed this to happen because
right.
And so if you're Elko with Bateman, like if you try to bring that guy back in the same capacity, and then it's like you have to take the play calling away from him again, then it's not about Bateman, really.
Right.
Then it's about the person that allowed Bateman to happen.
So because next year, I would agree with you. Next year, it's probably more likely that the Lions will have an offensive coordinator not named Dan Campbell, and the Aggies will have a defensive coordinator calling plays not named Mike Elko. That'd be my guess moving forward. But you
want to be able to have a guy who's talented enough that in a pinch they can take it over. But you have to know, like, okay, while we're doing this, Dan Campbell probably is not going to be as aggressive on, like, you know what I mean? Unless, like,
yep.
All of the Dan Campbell stuff that we love about him, actually, as a head coach, you got to dial that back. You can't be Dan Campbell, the head coach, when you're also Dan Campbell, the OC. You can't.
And it worked in the first game. Now, to be fair, he faced the Philly defense in the second game, but he got completely just smothered in that game as a play caller. We'll see what that looks like going forward.
Well, and I never thought of Dan Campbell as like an awesome play caller anyway.
No, I don't know that. Yeah, he decided it was.
That kind of just stunned me because I was like, oh.
It was a wild choice, man.
They're going to Dan Campbell to call plays. Totally makes sense. Remember when he coached the Rams with Kurt? No.
Right.
No.
At least in the Elko case, we could all go, well, yeah, he's been a defensive coordinator, right? Like it sort of makes sense. Yeah, the Campbell thing was a little
We got distracted by a goddamn super chat. Tell me what you thought about the whole thing before we go.
Yes. Okay. In terms of Sark, I would say whatever set it up, whatever the front part was, he felt like there was a need to be really emphatic. And I like the way he laid it out today. If I was his buddy, I would follow up with, nice job. That sounded like it needed to sound. Now, Coach Saban, just don't go to the Dolphins. That's kind of where he is now. That was not, he didn't say a specific team, but that was kind of Nick Saban, I'm not going to the Dolphins, right? Remember when the the LSU media trapped him?
He said, I'm not going anywhere. So
or not going to Bama. I'm sorry. Yeah, sorry. Coach Saban, don't go to Alabama is what I needed to say there. The NFL media trapped him and made him say it. I'm not going to be the next head coach at Alabama. There, I said it. And then he went to Bama. So that's all I would tell Sark. Now, you've been so emphatic. It can't go the other way. But I do think that could be a good thing for his team. Because the number one thing for me, Catch, is the shock of all shocks for me. The 10 out of 10 shock would be if Arch Manning takes a snap for Texas and Sark is not his head coach. And Sark told us today that ain't going to happen. So that to me makes sense.
He's so mad in that recording, right?
He is.
It's amazing that didn't happen on Monday.
Yeah. No, the whole
like
thing.
The timing of all, and there's still a little bit of like, I don't know how you do it. I don't know, you go on the Longhorn. I don't know what you do, but I think this could have been nipped in the bud on Monday. I think he wouldn't have even had to do this if he had retweeted Desmond Howard himself and then like an emoji, like a shrug emoji or something, or.
And I'm gonna tell you what, if this is basically just a Jerry Maguire movie playing out behind the scenes, if this is all constructed by CAA on some level, and they figured out a way to do everything that we just saw without Sark really knowing, so that today was legit anger, like he wasn't in on it, right? Like they ran in wrestling terms, they ran a work around him. He thought it was a shoot. So then today he got to give a shoot promo, right? Today he got to go Mick Foley at ECW when they held up that sign about his kid, and it comes off so legit. And in the back of some office in CAA, they're going, that worked pretty well. Who's buying lunch? Like, if that's going on, wow.
It's funny. I was talking with somebody this week. Jimmy Sexton's name came up.
Yeah.
And I'm reminded that a former Board of Regent member that I used to talk to once referred to him only as Satan all the time.
Just Satan.
Satan.
Isn't that what a lot of baseball people called what's his name for a while? Who am I thinking of?
Was it?
Okay, Rosenhaus was football. Who's the one I'm thinking of? Scott Boras.
Scott Boras.
They called Scott Boras Satan for a while in baseball, didn't they?
This goes back to that whole Saban thing.
Yeah.
There's some hard feelings about Jimmy Sexton at this school to go way back. And
no doubt.
Look, I'll just say this, like Jimmy Sexton didn't become Jimmy Sexton because Jimmy Sexton didn't know how to Jimmy Sexton things.
Yep, you're exactly right. You are exactly right. All right, I got one more.
All those big buildings with CAA written on them, like they didn't just build themselves.
Exactly. All right, we got one more super chat to hit real quick. Let me show you a piece of pie first. Look at this beauty. It is the bourbon chocolate pecan pie at Hay City Store. I'll be honest, I have not had this yet. Every time I go out, I love Barry's Heaven is one of their desserts. That's my favorite. They also have my favorite key lime pie. But if you're into pecan pie, good Lord, people, how good does that look? That whipped cream is homemade, scratch made, perfect. And they are waiting on you at FM 150 in Driftwood with the chicken fried steak, with 3 kinds of pork chop that will change your life, with the pizza, with the burgers, and with all the incredible drinks. Tell Travis, Tamara, and the crew we said hello. Tell them you heard about it on Orange Bloods Live, and go have yourself a piece of that damn pecan pie. Maybe 2 wouldn't be a bad idea. All right, Catch, we'll finish on this one. Heath, $9.99. I still can't get over what Kirby said. Quote, most players want to check, but we're building a culture centered around hitting people. Sark is not building that same type of culture Kirby and Saban did. I don't know if that's quite fair, Heath, but all right.
Man, I talked to somebody yesterday.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
And they were like, this is exactly how the conversation went.
Okay.
He was like, basically, and by the way, Kirby's a motherfucker for those comments after the game.
They took that. Did they take that? Go ahead.
Hold on. And I was like, really? I was like, I listened to it and I thought, yeah, it could be associated with Texas, but like he wouldn't do that to Sark. Like they've been talking about texting each other and their friends and everything.
Uh-oh.
And the guy goes, Kirby Smart's a fucking sociopath. And I said, well, aren't all of the coaches
right
like sociopaths on some level?
Would we let any of them babysit our kids? Come on.
He goes, let me correct myself. Kirby Smart is a super sociopath.
Oh, I see. It's a different grad school sociopath.
Anyway, I just want y'all to know that I've been very much captain of the I'm not so sure that he was trying to stick a knife in the back of Steve Sarkeesian's back on Saturday night. I did talk to somebody, though, whose opinion I trust, who thinks that the super sociopath, which honestly, I'd be okay if just once in my life somebody was like, God damn, Catch is just a super sociopath. Like, what do you have to do?
In a way, yeah, right.
What behavior?
That's crazy, man.
You're not a sociopath. You have a cape with an S on the back for your sociopathness.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it's weird, Catch. I've said it. I've made references to it. I made a reference to it last week in Scottish Guy, but it's like I feel like Kirby is driven crazy by Texas. I feel like it's in his brain. It kind of, and this is part of what makes him crazy. Like he lost Justice Terry because of money in his mind, and whoever he's lost to Texas because of money, and it just builds up. And you go out there and perform like that. And I don't know, maybe there was a little bit of that. Let me tell you about our program. And the phrase "not just about checks" was brilliant because you don't want to say we're not about checks. You can't do that. He was more modern about it than Jimbo Fisher was. But to construct it that way, maybe he was taking a shot at Texas and other programs that might outbid him, where he's like, you know what, you might outbid me for some guys, but the guys I get are going to tackle yours, period. Maybe that is what he was doing. I don't know. Super.
The last few, let me just say, thank you, Sark, for at least doing that. I want to go hang out with my kids today.
Yeah, look at that. Sark gave you the chance to do it now.
Like both of the last 2 days, I have lost days that I plan to spend with my kids. I picked them up after school yesterday. I literally was on the phone from the moment I picked them up.
Oh, don't you hate that?
To the moment they literally got out of the car and we drove around. It was like a 20-minute drive.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, I want to be a good dad. Like I literally woke up this morning and was like, my kids are growing up. I can't have Tuesdays get wiped out like yesterday got wiped out. Thank you. So I'm gonna go to the park or something with my kids, and who knows what the hell would have happened if because I think that does nip that is emphatic.
No doubt. Kirby Smart is Bane. Well done, South End Zone Queen. Good to hear from you, South End Zone Queen.
It is good to hear from South End Zone
Queen.
Yeah,
Yeah, what's up, Queen? You need to show up at the watch party this weekend. TCH Social Austin. Come see us. 183 and Anderson Mill.
You're not going to be able to get – she's South End Zone Queen.
Been too damn long. Oh, you're right. South End Zone Queen. Okay. Come see us at the Deep Eddy Vodka Tasting Room on Friday for the show, for the Q&A. I know, Queen – I know there's a question you have always wanted to ask Jeff Ketchum. Here's what we're going to do.
Asked it.
No. You don't know that. There might be a question she's never asked.
I don't know, man. I remember some conversations with South End Zone Queen. I feel like we breached ground.
She's always wanted to ask you something face to face. Come on out to the Deep Eddy Vodka Tasting Room, South End Zone Queen. You can ask Ketch the question you've always wanted, and I will watch slightly off to the side while having an espresso martini. How about that?
Hey, can I make a public declaration?
Sure.
On behalf of the women who
here we go.
Frequent y'all leave them alone in their DMs. I have
whose DMs? Oh, the women in the chat are getting DMs. Is that what you're saying?
It sounds like Enchiladas Michelle has just some creepers.
Uh-oh. Yeah.
Guys, stop.
Yeah.
Stop. I don't need to get specific. Just stop. Because you know who else has that happen? Tex Blonde. She's always got some dudes in her DMs.
Yeah, right. No,
guys, let these women just be sports fans without dudes being creeps. Is all I'm saying.
Yep, it's tough, man. It's tough out there, man. You can't be Michelle or Tex Blonde and throw a picture out of just a hook 'em horns, go team game day picture without everybody freaking out. You know why, Catch?
The men are just no good, man. We just are literally
Catch. Do you know why? Tell me why. What overarching theory explains why it happened to them? It's the pretty people rule. This is a bylaw of the pretty people rule. What would have happened if all of the men or women that saw them and jumped into the DMs, what if they thought they were unattractive? What if they thought they weren't pretty? Would they have reacted? No. Pretty people rule. So Michelle, Tex Blonde, you take it as the compliment it is, and then hope that, they can behave themselves. That's all, that's all it needs to be. In fact, Catch, when I saw Michelle's picture on Saturday. My first thought was to react with, hey, Michelle, looking good. And then I thought, wait, I don't know Michelle that well. Like, I've never met this woman. She's in the chat. She's met Catch. So I responded with, looks like you're ready for game day. Let's hope they get it done. Something like that. So I edited. But my first thought was, well, Michelle's looking great in that Arch Manning shirt. But I, changed that. We edited. And I did not get into her DMs. First of all, because I'm so old, I'm not even sure how I would have done that. I still don't fully understand even what that means half the time. All right, Catch. Anything else we need to hit today? Have we hit it all?
We have.
Do you need to be emphatic about anything?
Goodbye.
We should have an emphatic Friday or an emphatic Thursday.
We are going to have an emphatic Friday.
You know who we need to ask about Desmond Howard tomorrow is Brian Jones. Because every once in a while through his career, Brian Jones has had a moment or two where it's like, is Brian Jones trying to break a story here? And then they ask him on CBS. So we'll see what Brian has to say. By the way, they get USC Oregon. So we'll ask him about that, and we'll get his thoughts on Texas tomorrow. Normally 30 minutes into the show is Brian on a Thursday. Y'all have a good rest of your Wednesday. Thank you for the support. Like, subscribe, get your notifications.
Stop being creepers.
Stop being creepers. Get out of those DMs, fellas. I'm assuming fellas. This is Orange Bloods Live. See ya.
It's always